This character means so much to me. It's a character that radiates, for me, identity and strength, charisma, and class. And I really want to do my best to serve this character and honor this character.
For this album, you made a short film that starred this man. Are there any cons to working with your partner?
Any cons? I think the only con is that I couldn't just take him down anywhere I wanted.
It wasn't a scandal. It was a rumor. And sometimes, rumors hit harder than truth. When whispers about Aaron Pierre started circulating online, nobody knew where they came from. But suddenly, timelines shifted. Posts slowed down. Appearances felt distant. And fans began connecting dots that may have never been meant to connect. Then came the quiet separation. No explosive announcement. No public blame. Just movement. So the question isn't what was leaked. The real question is this. Did the pressure of speculation become too loud to ignore? Because in today's digital world, perception spreads faster than facts. And when a private narrative gets rewritten by strangers online, even the strongest connections can fracture under the weight. Was this about truth? Or was it about the storm that formed around it? Stay with us. Because sometimes the rumor becomes bigger than the relationship itself. It didn't start with a headline. It started with a whisper, a single post, a vague comment, a thread that asked more questions than it answered. And within hours, timelines were flooded. When rumors involving Aaron Pierre began circulating online, there was no confirmation, no direct statement, just speculation moving at digital speed. That's how it works now. One anonymous post becomes 10 reaction videos. 10 reaction videos become a trending topic. Trending topics become perceived reality. Observers noticed something important. The rumor didn't contain proof. It contained suggestion. And suggestion is powerful. Because suggestion allows imagination to fill the gaps. The internet doesn't need confirmation anymore. It needs momentum. And once momentum builds, it's hard to slow down. Fans began dissecting past interviews. Clips were replayed. Body language reanalyzed. Old photos reframed through new narratives. Suddenly, everything meant something. Or at least, everything felt like it did. Meanwhile, Teyana Taylor remained silent. No reaction posts, no defensive captions, no emotional responses. And that silence became part of the speculation. Observers started asking, why isn't anyone addressing this? But here's the reality of high-profile lives. Responding to every rumor feeds it. Ignoring it sometimes weakens it. But ignoring it can also make it grow louder. Because when there's no clarification, audiences construct their own. According to digital culture analysts, rumors evolve in stages. Stage 1, curiosity. Stage 2, amplification. Stage 3, emotional projection. Stage 4, narrative assumption. By the time the story reached Stage 3, it wasn't about truth anymore. It was about identity. People weren't debating facts, they were debating meaning, and meaning spreads faster than information. Observers noticed something else during this period. Public alignment slowed. Fewer visible moments together. Fewer subtle nods. More individual focus. Now, correlation does not equal causation. But in celebrity culture, timing fuels theory. When public interaction decreases during viral speculation, the internet assumes connection. Even if none exists, Jaguar-style commentators pointed out that rumor pressure can destabilize even strong foundations. Not because the rumor is true, but because the volume is overwhelming. So imagine navigating personal connection while millions debate your narrative. Every silence becomes suspicious. Every appearance becomes analyzed. Every movement becomes coded. That kind of scrutiny changes energy, not necessarily between two people, but around them. And environment influences relationship dynamics more than most realize. Observers suggest that even if the rumor was baseless, the intensity surrounding it could have created strain. Not internal strain, external strain. External pressure changes tone. It alters comfort. It shifts focus from connection to containment. containment becomes priority. In high-visibility relationships, containment often replaces clarification. Because clarification can spiral. If you deny, the denial becomes headline. If you ignore, silence becomes headline. If you over-explain, vulnerability becomes headline. There's no perfect response. That's what makes rumor cycles so destabilizing. They trap public figures inside reaction loops. Observers believe that during this period, the relationship narrative became secondary to the rumor narrative. The focus wasn't chemistry anymore. It was speculation. And speculation has weight. Weight that can bend perception. Weight that can accelerate distance. Now here's the key point. None of this confirms anything. Rumors don't equal truth. But rumors do influence atmosphere. Atmosphere influences emotion. Emotion influences decisions. Jaguar's perspective wasn't about proving a secret. It was about examining impact. She implied that sometimes it's not the content of a rumor that fractures alignment. It's the chaos it creates. Because chaos doesn't stay online. It leaks into real life. And real life under spotlight is fragile. By the time the internet cooled slightly, something had shifted. Not publicly, but perceptibly. And perception is powerful. Because perception shapes belief. Belief shapes narrative. Narrative shapes memory. The question isn't whether the rumor was real. The question is whether the noise became louder than the connection. And sometimes, noise wins. By the time the rumor hit peak circulation, it wasn't just a whisper anymore. It was atmosphere, and atmosphere is powerful. Because in the digital age, rumors don't just exist online. They create emotional climates. Observers describe it as the viral pressure effect. Here's how it works. One ambiguous claim surfaces. It gets reposted. Commentary channels pick it up. Reaction clips multiply. Speculation becomes structured debate. Suddenly, something unverified feels widespread. And widespread feels real. That's the transformation, not from truth to lie, but from question to assumption. Once assumption takes hold, the narrative becomes heavy. And heavy narratives impact relationships, even if the foundation is strong. Because pressure isn't always internal. Sometimes it's environmental. When Aaron Pierre's name became attached to trending speculation, the internet didn't wait for clarity. It demanded reaction. Observers noticed a familiar pattern. Silence to, "Why isn't he responding?" Response to, "Why is he defensive?" Denial to, "That sounds rehearsed." There's no safe move. And that's what makes viral rumor cycles so destabilizing. For public figures, every option carries risk. Respond and amplify. Ignore and invite imagination. Over-explain and fuel deeper analysis. Meanwhile, the relationship itself exists under spotlight distortion. Imagine navigating normal human complexity while millions watch for signs of fracture. Every glance gets interpreted. Every absence gets theorized. Every delayed appearance becomes coded meaning. This is where environment starts influencing emotion. Not because of guilt, not because of secrets, but because pressure changes behavior. Observers say viral rumors create 3 psychological impacts: hyper-awareness, defensive posture, emotional fatigue. Hyper-awareness makes you question every public move. Defensive posture shifts energy. Emotional fatigue drains connection, even if nothing happened, even if the rumor was empty. The stress of managing perception can alter tone. And tone is everything in public relationships. Jaguar-style commentary suggested that the internet often forgets something simple. 2 people can experience strain from public noise, without any underlying betrayal. Noise alone is destabilizing, because noise changes how safe something feels. When private life becomes public debate, intimacy shrinks, not because trust is broken, but because comfort is disrupted. Observers noticed that during the rumor surge, public alignment softened. Not dramatically, just subtly. Fewer shared cues, more independent focus. That doesn't confirm causation, but timing always fuels interpretation. And interpretation spreads faster than facts. The viral pressure effect doesn't require truth to operate. It only requires momentum. Momentum is driven by engagement. Engagement is driven by controversy. See, controversy doesn't need proof. It needs reaction. Once reaction cycles begin, public figures are trapped inside the narrative, whether they participate or not. Observers believe that sometimes the rumor becomes the relationship's third presence. Not truth, not lie, just presence. A presence that sits between two people under spotlight. And even the strongest alignment can feel altered when millions are projecting meaning onto it. That's the part most audiences don't consider. The emotional cost of constant speculation. Speculation is invisible stress. Invisible stress shifts energy. Energy shifts connection. Connection shifts trajectory. None of that requires wrongdoing, just pressure. Jaguar's perspective wasn't about exposing secrets. It was about exposing the impact of narrative chaos. Because in modern celebrity culture, rumor often arrives before reflection. Judgment arrives before conversation. And by the time calm returns, something has already changed. The question isn't whether the rumor was accurate. The question is whether the weight of it became too heavy to ignore. Because sometimes the story doesn't end because of truth. It ends because of atmosphere. An atmosphere, once contaminated by speculation, is difficult to restore. When the rumor reached peak volume, the public expected one thing: a statement. But it never came. No formal denial, no emotional clarification, no dramatic rebuttal. Just silence. And silence is complicated. Because in the digital era, silence can be interpreted two completely different ways: as strength or as avoidance. As observers started asking, why didn't they shut it down immediately? It seems simple from the outside, but inside high-visibility environments, shutting something down isn't simple at all. Responding gives a rumor oxygen. Ignoring it lets imagination grow. Either choice creates consequence. That's the dilemma. Jaguar-style commentary suggested something deeper. Maybe silence wasn't about the rumor. Maybe silence was about protecting stability. Because when a relationship is under public scrutiny, responding to every wave of speculation shifts focus away from connection and toward defense. Defense mode changes energy. Energy changes tone. Tone affects alignment. Observers believe this is where perception and reality start separating. From the outside, silence feels suspicious. From the inside, silence can feel like protection. Protection of privacy, protection of dignity, protection of future options. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Silence doesn't stop the internet. It slows nothing down. In fact, sometimes it intensifies curiosity. The absence of denial can become a story. The absence of confirmation can become assumption. And assumption spreads faster than fact. That's what makes viral rumor cycles so dangerous. They don't require evidence. They require narrative momentum. Once momentum builds, silence feels louder than words. Observers noticed that during this period, public energy between Teyana Taylor and Pierre appeared different. Not explosive, not dramatic, just recalibrated. And recalibration is subtle. Subtle shifts in presence. Subtle shifts in alignment. Subtle shifts in focus. Those shifts might have happened regardless of the rumor. Or they may have been influenced by it. The public can't know, but perception fills the gap. Jaguar suggested that sometimes silence protects short-term dignity, but creates long-term ambiguity. Ambiguity invites interpretation. Interpretation invites division. Division invites emotional projection. And projection becomes narrative. Narrative becomes memory. By the time memory forms, the original rumor may no longer matter. What matters is how the relationship felt during the storm. Did it feel unified or strained? Did silence feel mutual or disconnected? Those questions don't require confirmation. They require imagination. And imagination is powerful. Observers believe silence might have served two purposes at once: shielding against escalation, while unintentionally widening emotional distance. Said because when two people are navigating external pressure, communication becomes internal. Internal conversations don't get shared publicly, but the absence of visible unity can create visible space, and visible space becomes storyline. Jaguar's reflection wasn't accusatory, it was observational. She implied that sometimes, even when two people try to ignore noise, the noise reshapes atmosphere. Atmosphere affects comfort. Comfort affects closeness. Closeness affects continuity. Continuity determines outcome. None of that requires scandal. It requires pressure. Pressure, sustained long enough, alters trajectory. Observers also note something important. Silence preserves professionalism. Neither side publicly attacked the other. Neither fueled drama. That restraint suggests maturity. But maturity doesn't eliminate impact. It only contains spectacle. And maybe that's the key takeaway here. Silence can be a shield, but it can also be a slow fade. From the outside, we only see the outcome. We don't see the conversations. We don't see the decisions. We don't see whether silence felt protective or exhausting. All we see is the space that followed. And space, in celebrity culture, speaks loudly. Here's the part people rarely talk about. Even when a rumor fades, its imprint doesn't. Because in the digital age, stories don't disappear. They archive. They circulate in fragments. They resurface months later in unrelated conversations. Observers say viral rumor cycles don't just create temporary chaos. They alter long-term perception. And perception is difficult to reverse. When speculation attached itself to Aaron Pierre's name, even without confirmation, it created a searchable association. That's the reality of the internet. Once a narrative attaches to someone's identity, it becomes part of their digital footprint, whether accurate or not. That footprint influences how audiences interpret future behavior. Future silence gets reinterpreted. Future distance feels intentional. Future relationships get examined through the old lens. Jaguar's commentary wasn't about proving anything happened. It was about what happens after people believe something might have. Belief reshapes memory. Memory reshapes interpretation. And interpretation reshapes legacy. Observers note that once a couple becomes linked to controversy, even rumor-level controversy, their dynamic is no longer neutral in the public eye. It becomes layered. Layered with assumptions. Layered with unresolved questions. Layered with what if, and what if is powerful. Because what if lingers. It changes how fans view photos. It changes how media frames headlines. It changes how future partners are analyzed. Even if the rumor was baseless, even if nothing private aligned with public speculation, the narrative already existed. And once a narrative exists, it doesn't need truth to sustain impact. It only needs repetition. Observers believe this is where long-term damage can occur. Not reputational collapse, but narrative residue. Residue sticks. It influences casting decisions, brand partnerships, interview framing, public discourse. Jaguar suggested something sobering. The rumor may fade, but the association doesn't. That's not an accusation, it's a digital reality. The internet doesn't forget, even if audiences move on. And that digital permanence creates pressure. Pressure to remain silent. Pressure to avoid re-engagement. Pressure to prevent future speculation. Observers also noticed something subtle. After the rumor wave slowed, neither side revisited it publicly. No clarification months later. No retrospective reflection. Just continued forward movement. Forward movement signals confidence, but it also signals finality. Finality closes chapters, even when questions remain. Jaguar implied that maybe the real cost of viral rumor culture isn't truth distortion. It's emotional fatigue. Constant scrutiny exhausts connection. Connection under exhaustion weakens naturally. Not because of guilt, but because of environment. Imagine trying to build something genuine while millions analyze every pixel of your existence. It becomes less about the relationship and more about survival. Survival of image. Survival of privacy. Survival of peace. Observers believe that sometimes relationships don't end because of betrayal. They end because of narrative saturation. When speculation overshadows authenticity, distance can feel like relief. Relief doesn't require wrongdoing, it requires quiet. Jaguar's reflection suggested that perhaps the separation wasn't dramatic at all. Perhaps it was protective. Protective of brand. Protective of future growth. Protective of mental clarity. But protective exits can feel cold to audiences. Because audiences crave resolution, they crave closure, they crave confirmation. Silence denies closure, and denied closure breeds theory. Theory becomes digital folklore. Digital folklore becomes assumed history. That's the cycle. And once that cycle begins, it's nearly impossible to fully reverse. Even years later, old clips resurface. Old comments get reinterpreted. Old narratives feel fresh again. Observers believe this is the hidden cost of viral rumor storms, not immediate damage. Long-term association. Association shapes perception. Perception shapes legacy. And legacy, once altered, rarely resets. After the noise fades, after the speculation cools, after timelines find a new distraction, there's one final question that lingers. Was the separation emotional, or was it strategic? When viral rumors surround a high-profile relationship, the next move becomes critical. Not because someone is guilty, but because perception must be stabilized. Observers say that once a rumor cycle peaks, image teams quietly step in, not to fabricate reality, but to protect trajectory. Trajectory matters more than temporary narrative. Career momentum cannot stall because of online speculation. Brand alignment cannot fracture because of rumor energy. So what happens next? Movement. Forward movement. New projects, new appearances, new focus. The fastest way to shrink speculation is to outpace it. Jaguar-style commentary suggests that sometimes moving on isn't about denial. It's about redirection. Redirection is powerful. If the public focuses on growth, they stop focusing on gossip. Observers noticed that after the rumor wave subsided, both Teyana Taylor and Pierre appeared to shift attention toward individual momentum. No messy commentary. No revisiting the narrative. Just forward-facing energy. Forward-facing energy communicates stability. Stability communicates control. So control restores perception. That doesn't mean the connection wasn't real. It means the next chapter became priority. In elite ecosystems, longevity outweighs explanation. Explaining invites more questions. Growth invites admiration. Observers believe that when relationships face viral rumor cycles, there are typically two outcomes: public confrontation or quiet disengagement. Public confrontation escalates. Quiet disengagement protects. Protection isn't weakness, it's strategy. Strategy in high-visibility environments is survival. Jaguar implied that perhaps both individuals recognized something important. The noise wasn't going to disappear overnight, and rebuilding narrative clarity publicly would require vulnerability. Vulnerability under speculation can be weaponized. So instead, the safer move becomes momentum. Momentum shifts memory. The internet has a short attention span. If new achievements emerge, old rumors lose oxygen. Observers also suggest something deeper. Sometimes relationships don't recover from rumor cycles, not because the rumor was true, but because the experience was exhausting. Exhaustion changes chemistry. Chemistry shifts connection. Connection shifts outcome, even if trust remains intact, even if the rumor was baseless. Constant external pressure can reframe how something feels internally. Jaguar's perspective wasn't accusatory. It was reflective. She suggested that in the public eye, love doesn't just require compatibility. It requires durability. Durability under commentary. Durability under projection. Durability under rumor. Not every connection is built for that kind of climate, and that doesn't make it fake. It makes it human. Observers believe that moving on quickly isn't always damage control. Sometimes it's preservation. Preservation of dignity. preservation of privacy, preservation of future possibility. Because once a relationship becomes narrative-heavy, staying inside it can feel heavier than leaving it. Leaving reduces weight. Weight reduction restores balance. Balance allows growth. That may be the quiet truth beneath the noise. Not scandal, not exposure, just recalibration. Recalibration after narrative saturation. And recalibration is rarely dramatic. It's subtle. Subtle shifts in direction, subtle shifts in association, subtle shifts in energy. By the time the public notices the change, it's already complete. At the beginning, it felt explosive, a whisper, a trend, a sudden shift in energy. But by the end of it all, something becomes clear. The rumor may have been louder than the relationship itself. When speculation attached itself to Aaron Pierre's name, the internet reacted instantly. When public alignment between him and Teyana Taylor softened, the narrative wrote itself. But what if the real event wasn't the relationship ending? What if the real event was how quickly the world decided it knew why? Because in today's culture, rumor moves faster than reality, and perception hardens before facts can even breathe. Jaguar's commentary didn't prove anything happened. It examined something deeper. How fragile public narratives are when exposed to viral speculation. Observers believe the real takeaway isn't about betrayal. It's about amplification. Amplification changes everything. It changes how we interpret silence. It changes how we interpret distance. It changes how we interpret growth. When millions watch a connection unfold, they attach meaning to it. When millions watch that connection fade, they attach even more meaning. But meaning doesn't equal truth. It equals projection. Projection fills gaps left by silence, and silence is often chosen to preserve dignity. Neither side escalated, neither side blamed, neither side fueled drama. That restraint says something important. Sometimes the absence of chaos is the most honest signal. Jaguar's larger message wasn't about exposure. It was about atmosphere. How digital storms reshape emotional landscapes. How perception lingers long after trends fade. How relationships in the public eye aren't just built between two people. They're built inside commentary, inside algorithms, inside endless speculation. Observers say the modern celebrity relationship faces three battles at once: the personal battle, the public battle, the narrative battle. Even if the personal foundation is strong, the narrative battle can exhaust it. And exhaustion changes direction. The internet doesn't see exhaustion. It sees silence. And silence gets interpreted as secrecy. But secrecy and privacy aren't the same thing. Privacy protects. Secrecy conceals. There's a difference. Jaguar challenged the idea that every quiet exit hides something dramatic. Maybe what happened wasn't dramatic at all. Maybe it was simple: timing, pressure, diverging paths, and the weight of being analyzed by millions. Observers believe the most powerful lesson here isn't about who left who. It's about how quickly public perception fills voids. The rumor didn't need proof to influence energy. It only needed repetition. Repetition creates familiarity. Familiarity creates assumed truth. Assumed truth shapes memory, and memory outlives headlines. By the time the internet moved on, the narrative had already crystallized in people's minds. But crystallization doesn't equal reality. It equals digital folklore. And digital folklore spreads faster than fact. Maybe the real story isn't about a secret. Maybe it's about how fragile public alignment becomes when rumor and relationship collide. Not because something was hidden, but because everything was visible. Visibility magnifies everything, even silence, especially silence. And sometimes, silence isn't a confession, it's a boundary.